Welcome to the Following the Joy podcast with me, Debbie Westwell, confidence and mindset coach and massive travel enthusiast. This podcast is a place to talk about being the best version of yourself, following your heart, making scary changes and having fun on this adventure that we call life. I'm your biggest cheerleader and I want you to know that it is never too late to start over and make a life you are excited to get out of bed for. So let's go and get following the joy. In this episode, I'm talking to Jessica Ruiz, who is based over in Florida in Kissimmee. She is a mental health therapist and a Latina relationship coach. But she doesn't only work with Latinas, she works with all ladies as well. So we chat about all sorts of things in this episode. So we talk about the topic of mental health and choosing a therapist or a coach or whomever you're going to work with. We also dive deep into dating and learning to love yourself and working on yourself first. But also she gives some great safety advice tips for if you're internet dating and stuff, and just has some fabulous kind of like insights and tidbits. She's an introvert, but she's found her extroverted soulmate that she absolutely loves, and she loves to help people also find their partner. And the one thing that she says in this is that everyone deserves to love and to be loved. And she is so right. And we all do deserve love. So this is all my love to you, and hope you absolutely enjoy this episode. Hi, Jessica. Welcome to the Following the Joy podcast. I am happy to see you. I'm so glad to have you here as well.
I'm happy to see you too. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, awesome. Okay, for our lovely listeners, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll just take the conversation from there.
My name is Jessica Ruiz. I help single Latinas. I'm a Latina relationship coach. Find self-confidence so they can attract the love of their life. So I believe in love. I do one-on-one coaching services. I also work full-time as a mental health therapist. So that's also my background. That's my experience too. And I just love helping people. I've always loved helping people, especially women and especially Latinas.
Oh, I love that. You've obviously just got a huge heart, and you're just helping everybody if you like mental health, and then you're also helping relationship coaches. Where are you based? Because obviously I'm in the UK, but you're not.
Yeah, Kissimmee, Florida.
Nice. Okay. Well, there's a lot of Latinas in Florida, right?
Yes, there is. Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's like perfect market. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about your mental health profession at the moment, if that's all right with you. So have you always kind of worked in the mental health industry?
I've always been like a social worker since 2005. So I've done different things. Like I worked in a nursing home. I've done preventive services. In mental health, I worked like 8 years doing mental health. So
Oh,
that's what I love
wow.
about social work. You could do different things.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess you've probably got some lovely stories I'm sure there's some not so good times as well, but you've got nice stories, haven't you, that I guess that shore you up and keep you doing what you're doing, because it's obviously quite a rewarding job.
Yes, like with one, like just changing her mindset about things. Of course, she's been through trauma since she was a child, and just changing how she thinks of things. Like she would always think negatively. So yeah, and then finding that person that could help her because she's been through a lot of therapists. So it's just also giving her that hope too. And she has been improving and getting better. So
Oh.
that's the part.
She's found the right one. I guess that's it, isn't it? There's so many people out there that are willing to help people, but not everybody is the right person. Like in love, which we'll come to in a minute, but not everybody is the right person for you. So I guess if you're listening and you've tried therapy or speaking to a counselor or talking to a friend and it didn't work out, the one thing I would say is maybe just try somebody else. Keep going, because somebody will be your person. Maybe ask for like a brief call with people first. I don't even know whether that's doable, but just if you've got a good vibe with somebody, you're more likely to be more open, I guess, aren't you?
Yes, definitely. So with that, like even when I start, like when I do my first session, like I let them know, no hard feelings, if anything, because I want this to work. Even if it's with me or if you feel like we're not the good fit, I'm not gonna get insulted or anything. I just, want you to feel okay, like so that you're able to feel like you can talk to someone, that you have that rapport with that person. So yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's such a beautiful way of looking at it as well. And I think all therapists, coaches, counselors, they're all exactly the same, aren't they? We are in the fields that we are in because we want to help people. and we don't take it personally. If we aren't
Yeah,
your
no,
person, you
I
can't
know.
take it personally. Can you? So also, it's not easy for us to work with people. But if they don't want to work with us, it's like, being back at school again, isn't it? And dragging your feet like, I don't want to go to math today.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, I mean, it has to be a good fit in order for them to be able to talk about their things. And if it isn't, then that's okay too. Because again, the in the long run, you just want them to receive the help and be able to open up.
Yeah. And so, okay. So some of the skills that you use in that job kind of blend over into like your Latina relationship coach job as well.
Yes. Again, of course, there's always that difference, like where we don't in coaching, we don't diagnose, while with therapy we do. Things like that. But yeah, so but there's like, okay, the listening part, that's the same thing you do in coaching. You also listen to them. You also build like that bond with your clients in coaching. So all of those things, those are similarities.
Oh, fab. Okay. So what got you into becoming a relationship coach in the first place?
Okay. So for me, well, I've been single, then I did like the dating apps until I
Good.
finally decided, like, okay, you know what? I have to work on me, on my goals, on what I want to do. So that's when I decided to work on my goals. And then finally, I did get to meet the love of my life and we're married. So yes, so that just to, for everyone, there's still hope. It's never too late. And everyone deserves to be loved and to love.
Oh, you're very, very right. Everybody does deserve to be loved and to love. So do you think that, I mean, I think people listening will probably like register with the like or recognize the fact that they've also been on internet dating sites if they're single like I have. And, I've got a lot of friends. I mean, I've got a lot of friends who have been married for a long time, don't get me wrong, but I've also got a lot of friends and people in my life who have been single and then aren't single and then they tried social media or internet dating and things like that. And then it never goes on. But actually, I think a really important point that you said there is that you worked on yourself. And do you think that's core to everybody getting into a relationship? You've got to kind of have a relationship with yourself first, I guess.
Yes, I believe, yes, loving yourself, having that respect for yourself, that confidence, because also that helps you to attract the love of your life, working on yourself. And also, yeah, I mean, I've done like the dating apps, and but that's how I did meet the love of my life, through a dating app. So it finally did work, you
Oh,
know.
I love it.
So
I love that it works for some people. I like hearing stories like that because I'm like, okay, I'll keep going.
you're gonna go through, like, like they say, you're gonna kiss the frogs until you meet the right one. So yeah.
Yeah, as long as they're not slimy. We don't like slimy frogs.
So
Oh,
funny.
well, I'm so happy for you that you've met the love of your life. That's awesome. Okay, here's a question for you. Do you believe in love at first sight?
I do. That happened to actually well, he's my husband now, but yeah, like when we first met and everything, well, we started talking and then we met in person. And yeah, for him, he knew already. For me, I was like, okay, take your time because that's the way he is. He knew already. And I'm like, okay,
Wow.
because he's an extrovert. So I'm the introvert. So I'm the type to like, okay, let's get to know each other better. He already knew. So if it were up to him, we would have been even married from before. So, but I was,
Wow.
yeah. Hmm.
Okay, so that's an interesting combination then, an extrovert and an introvert. And they say that opposites attract. I'm like I think they call them ambiverts. So sometimes I'm like smack down in the middle and I can like recharge my batteries and I can be super high energy around amazing people. And sometimes I'm just like, no, I just need my own time and I need not to talk to anybody and I need to recharge on my own, like doing meditation or whatever. So I guess I don't really understand either point, but I understand both, if that makes sense. So obviously, as an introvert, you're already saying there that you're a little bit more cautious and you're not likely to jump into everything. Has him being an extrovert kind of affected your relationship? Were you being an introvert, being opposites, or has it like worked well?
I mean, we work with each other. We work as a team, and he gets me out of my shell. So he helps me too. Because again, he's like also, he does like entertainment. He's a DJ. He's that,
Yeah,
type of person.
outgoing.
So exactly. So he does get me out of my shell, which is good. And then I also help him to like, okay, yeah, trying to like think about things, trying to be less impulsive and things like that.
Oh, I love that. It's like the perfect balance of yin and yang, isn't it?
Yes, definitely.
But also, that's a really good thing. So, anybody who's listening who is an introvert, like if Jessica can go out and put yourself, I guess that was a huge thing, then putting yourself on internet dating and actually going out and dating people as an introvert, I'm guessing is quite difficult.
Yes, because well, at first also I tried the meetups, networking events, and I did
Yeah.
that by myself. So that was but I was like, okay, I need to put myself out there, being vulnerable. So yeah, that was hard, but I did do it. So that could be hard, especially if you're an introvert, but you get
Mm.
better. I mean, yes, you'll get nervous, but you'll still do it. So yeah.
So, is it like a bit of practice then that somebody needs to do?
Yes, they say practice makes perfect. Yes, it's true. Even if you're nervous and just having fun and enjoy it, not thinking of, oh, okay, is this going to be the one? Just enjoy. I mean, enjoy the date. And if he is the one and then great. And if he isn't, then you just continue. I mean, sometimes I know it could be hard because you're like, when would I find that person? So yeah, but it's never too late.
I love that. So, basically, enjoy the dating journey. Actually,
Exactly.
if you treat it as an adventure, if you get on a theme park ride, you don't want it to stop after 2 seconds, do you? Do you know what I mean? You want it to kind of at least go round a couple of times. So I guess on that going round, you'd go on different dates, wouldn't you? Before you finally, I don't know. I don't know whether that's a good example or not, but it just popped into my head.
You got to keep on trying until you meet that person. And yes, of course, we all have like our things like we've been through, like ghosting, where they ghost you or they don't call you back, and you're like, okay, or they didn't know what they want. And then they tell you, okay, I thought I wanted a relationship, but I realized I didn't. So you're going to go through all of those things until you finally meet that person.
Yeah. And I guess also what people have got to remember is don't take it personally. It's like we were saying before about this, like coaches and counselors and therapists, don't take it personally if you don't want to work with them. It's like, I know it's hard not to take it personal if you are putting energy and effort. And especially as women, it kind of feels like we fall hard, we fall deep, and we put all of our energies in and we want the perfect fella coming out or whatever to tick all of our boxes. But actually, if they're ghosting you or whatever, then you don't want them in your life in the first place because you don't want that kind of person to be around you, do you? It's just kind of recognizing that it's not about you, it's on them. There possibly something going on in their life. Maybe, hopefully, they've met the woman of the dreams, and it might not be you, but don't take it personally. Would you agree?
Exactly. No, exactly. And like I always say, it's their loss. So it's not your loss. And you learn from that. And that makes you stronger. And it's like just keep on going and not losing hope if that's your goal, if that's something that you want to meet the
Mm,
love of your life, get married, all of those things.
yeah. And would you say there's ever a point where people need to like just have a bit of a break?
Yes. Definitely, definitely yes. Because sometimes you get carried away or you lose sight of yourself, or sometimes you lose yourself. Sometimes that could also happen in a relationship where you lose yourself. So that's also another thing. But you learn from that too, and not to do that again.
Yes. Oh, brilliant. That's such good advice. Um, have you ever done speed dating?
Yes, I did that once. That like I ended up with a headache. So yeah, that's I didn't get no one. I just ended up with a headache, and I was like, nope, that's my first and last time doing speed dating. So yeah.
Oh, dear me. I've never done speed dating. I have friends that have done it. So, but I guess as an introvert, it would probably be like everybody's worst nightmare, wouldn't it? It's like putting yourself out there repeatedly. It's not just like you're talking to one person online. It's like there's 20 of them in the room or something. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So you work particularly with Latinas because you're Latina yourself. But I guess, is there much of a difference between like the advice that you give to Latinas versus what you would give to any woman, or are you happy to work with any woman?
Oh, I'm happy to work with every woman. The reason why Latinas, because again, that's where my heart is, my passion,
Mm.
and I'm also Latina. Like I could identify more with Latinas, so that's why. But I love working with anyone, especially with women.
Yeah. And I guess there are some probably cultural differences as well. Like in the Latina culture, I mean, I personally, this is my personal opinion and not that of anybody else, think that Latinas definitely get a little bit fierier sometimes. but also that like family is a huge thing in food, isn't it?
Yes, we're close to our family, and yes, our culture. We're proud of our culture. We have our traditions. So yeah, so that's definitely a main part. For most of us, also, being Catholic. So yeah. Mm.
Yeah. Okay, so how important is it to you for your potential partner to get on with your family? They have to approve.
Uh, for the most part, at least get along with each other. At least, because yeah, there's gonna be times where they might not, but that's a choice you got to make. Like, okay, you know, um, I'm with him. You
Mm.
know, he's not with my family.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
But in a
that's
dream
how
world,
I would
obviously
say.
everybody would get on, right? Because you
Yes,
spend time with your family.
of course, everyone would want that word, yes. But sometimes that might not happen. So it's like, okay. Or, so with that, it's like that's a choice you make. Like, okay, you know what? Um, that's the one I chose for me, like to be with that person.
Awesome. Okay, so for anybody listening, right, who is maybe started a new relationship, when should you introduce them to your family?
Actually, I mean, for everyone is different. Like when I met mine, we met in September. And then I introduced them like after a few months. And I think that maybe the best time for me, like I did it in the holidays. So I did it like in November for Thanksgiving. So
Wow.
yeah.
So he met everybody in one go.
Well, I live in Kissimmee, but I still have family in other places. Like I have family in New York and things like that. But of course, they know about him and things like that. So but yeah, that's something else. So like him meeting the family, like all of that. That's a lot too. But I was like, okay, and my family, they knew, okay, this got to be someone serious because she's introducing him to us. So
I like it. I think my parents know if it's someone serious if I've just mentioned the name because normally I don't tell them anything. I fly underneath the radar until I'm ready to like introduce somebody. So you're right. It's all different for different people, isn't it? But I guess, yeah, I don't have a huge family, but I'm not sure I would introduce anybody to all of them in one go. I think
yeah,
that's
no, that would
definitely
be too
down the
much.
line.
Yeah, exactly. So like I said, he met my family that does live in Florida.
Mm, your close family first. Amazing. Okay, so what do you go through with your ladies and how do you kind of start with them?
So with them, we talk about what they've been through as far as in relationships, dating, things like that. So to help them as far as with if it's confidence or whatever happened to them, because again, for most of them, it could be like they've been through bad relationships or they're still healing from their past. And even with that, even if you're still healing, you know, they could be things that triggers you, but that's something you're still working on.
Mm.
You'll always work on that because again, you've been through things in your past and but that doesn't mean again you're not able to find love. And sometimes people lose hope or they get jaded where they feel like, nope, I'm always gonna meet the same person. And no. But again, that's also your mindset.
Yes. And I guess also that's when we start doing work on ourselves, isn't it? And start to realize the patterns, then we can break the patterns. And then we no longer go for those F boys or idiots or ones with no money or ones that aren't emotionally intelligent or whatever pattern it was that we've been stuck in, I guess. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Because you'll meet those, like you were saying, like those that are emotionally unavailable, or that, if you want to get married, they don't want to get married, or if you want to have kids, they don't want to have kids. So that's something either you decide whether you're okay with, okay, compromising that or no. So that's a decision, but that's a big decision because you might like say, okay, am I settling?
Yes. Oh, yeah, you're right, actually. And anybody listening, how many times have you repeated a pattern and possibly settled? I know so many people that have just settled because they wanted children and they were a certain age. And so they've just thought, well, in order to get a child, I'll meet a partner and then, he might not be the best person in the world, but then I'll get my child and then that's what I want. But ultimately, it doesn't make you happy down the line. You might have what you think you want, but it's not always happiness that comes out of it, I guess.
Yeah, because again, you just did it like to have a child. So I
Mm.
get that, yes. For most women, they want to be a mom, but that doesn't mean you're just gonna settle. There's other ways that you could have a baby.
Okay, I've got a question for you then. So if I go out dating, or if anybody goes out dating, how soon should you be having the conversations about what you want from life, whether it's like a long-term relationship, marriage, children? Because yes, on the dating apps, you can put those things down, but I don't think, first of all, I don't think men read a lot of the things. I think they just swipe yes on the pictures and it's regardless, they don't read what you've written. And
No,
also,
you're
I
right.
don't think they always write what they believe in the first place. I think some guys don't actually know what they want in the first place. And so it's really difficult to try and match with somebody and then have the conversations afterwards. So how soon would you start introducing those conversations?
See, I would say like first if you make it through the first 3 months, um, because again, and it depends on the both of you. Like you're both gonna talk about things. Now, if you feel like he's not talking about serious things and it's all superficial, then yeah, because those are things you talk about because and you both have to bring it up. You have to bring it up because again, you might, like I was saying, one might want to get married, the other one doesn't. So that's where you got to decide, okay, are you going to be okay with that? Or like I was saying, kids, or even the big one, finances. What's key
Mm.
with finances?
Yes. When do you have the finance talk? Because let's face it, I don't want to be with somebody who hasn't got a clue what he's doing and he's up to his eyeballs in debt.
So even with that, you'll see the way how that person is too, as far as how they spend money when you go out on dates, things like that. So you'll see that, or depending on what he talks about when it comes to that. So I would say things like that after 3 months, because then you'll know, okay, once you know, like you've been 3 months, those are things you talk about. And it depends because some people could have it even sooner because they have
Mm.
that connection. So, um,
Okay, that's
yeah, because that's
interesting.
both of you. You both want that. Like you
Yeah.
both want a long-term relationship and you both want the same thing. So, yeah. So sometimes it could even be before that.
I like that because I do know some people who would kind of ask that on the first or second date, and maybe that's off putting, and then maybe you're naturally trying to speed up a relationship. And from what you've just said, then maybe you just need to kind of take a step back, slow down, and just see how it unfolds.
Yes, I know for some people, yet because that might scare the person off. Like, okay, this is our first date, and you're telling me like, so that's the thing. Like once you get to know them and you see how they are, and if you see like, okay, they actually want like something long term and things like that, then on a first date, it's more you getting to know each other. Like, okay, what are your likes? What are your dislikes? Things like that.
First dates are just getting to know each other. But again, I guess then it comes back to the same old thing that the theme that seems to be going on in this conversation is if they're not for you, it's not for you. So if actually you want to have that conversation and they're not ready for it, well, then maybe they're not for you. Like, I guess, trust your gut instinct on people as
Yes,
well.
definitely. I always say 9 times out of 10, your instinct is always right. So trust your instincts, your gut.
Yes. Okay. So have you ever stalked anybody through social media to try and find out all things about them before you've dated them? Is there like a safety aspect that we need to consider during dating?
Well, I wouldn't say stalking, though. That's that. But yeah, like you check their background, things like that, or you check to see if they're real. Because you never know on a dating app if it's a scam or things like that. So definitely try to see them in like if you can through video and things like that. And if you do go on a date, definitely a public place, things like that. Yes, because you don't know. Again, that's because yeah, there are scams. There are people out there. So
Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, I do have to say, from years and years and years ago on the dating apps, you just genuinely didn't know. There was a lot of catfishing. There was a lot of random stuff. I did trust my gut. I had some horrendous ones. There was a guy who looked amazing, had waterfalls in the background, but clearly looked military. Then he was saying he is military. But when I was saying to him, where's that waterfall in the background? Is that Niagara or whatever? He didn't answer. And so then I was like, all right, okay. So my go-to one is like, what's your favorite food? And I think he said something like rice. And I was like, right, first of all, if you're in the military and you're deployed all the time, you're not going to be wanting rice because rice is the only thing that you bloody eat. And you're going to be saying like a steak or a burger or like mac and cheese or something that's like that tasty thing. And even if it was true, then I don't think I want somebody whose favourite food is rice, quite frankly. But that's my prerogative. But then he was like, oh, come off the app and go and chat to me in a different way. And I was like, oh, red flags are up. Sometimes I would, but like this one, red flags was up. Absolutely not. And and then he was like, oh, I'm being deployed and I'm moving around a bit. And then I knew what was coming. It was going to be like, can you send me some money or something like that? And I was like, I knew it. Like this. But I was like, okay. So I did trust my gut. I don't know where I'm going with this story, but it does crack me up because I think the apps are a little bit better nowadays. I know, like last year, I think I went on the apps just for a brief spell, and there's some of them now you have to do a video of yourself, and so they know it's you and it matches your photographs, and then it says like approved or like verified or something like that on it, which is awesome because it means that you can then obviously check people. I guess. So what are some of the other kind of safety tips? So we've obviously got like try and see them through video first, public place.
Yeah, definitely. Like even going with your instinct, going with your gut, like if you
Mm.
like questions like that, or even their voice, or if they tell you like how the example you just gave, like, okay, let's talk, outside of the platform, or if it's too good to be true, like where they make themselves out to look like they're perfect, or they're, love bombing, things like that. So those are things to, signs to be, careful.
So I think most people have heard of it, but what is the definition of love bombing?
Okay, love bombing is like they'll give you everything, like they'll like give you the moon, the sky, flowers, like they're gonna make themselves as the perfect one, and all of that's love bombing, but it's too fast. The way they
Mm.
do it is like, okay, so you feel like, is this real or is it too good to be true?
Yeah,
That's
it's
what
generally
love
too good to be
bombing is
true.
like. Yeah, because again, that's you giving too much. Like, okay, I
Yeah.
mean, I know there's people that they give. But when it's like that, when it's too fast, or when they make themselves out to be perfect, that's where like, okay, no one's perfect. So
Yeah. And also, I think ladies, we've got to keep our eye on the end goal. And the end goal is to have a relationship. And the relationship involves mutual support and understanding and having adventures and doing life together, which means that at some point you're going to go through grief and you're going to need their support. And so that instant gratification of getting gifts and being told you're beautiful and this, that, and the other is purely that, isn't it? It's instant gratification because once all the layers peel away, you want that solid person that's going to be able to kind of support you and love you and take you as you are. I once knew a guy who swore that he only liked women with six packs, and I kept saying to him, "Listen, at the end of the day, if you want children, she isn't going to have a six pack. She's going to have a huge baby belly, and the chances are she'll never get back to having a six pack. So you're going to have to get rid of that out of your brain, which is just bizarre."
see, and that's also another example. Like, okay, like again, we're all, we all change, our bodies change. So yeah, you want someone like, okay, like the communication, how they solve a problem, um, all of those things, as far as how you both do you talk things, do you talk about things, trusting each other, being as a team, working together.
Yeah. See, I love that. It's essentially like your best friend, isn't it? Finding your best friend.
That's what I'm gonna say. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Having a best friend, like you could have both. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be one or the other. So yeah, like you could talk to them, they could talk to you. You have that time where like, okay, where you talk about things or how you're feeling, and they'll also believe in you. You believe in them. You help each other. You push each other. Like, okay, yes, this is something that we both have to do. So yeah.
I love that. I feel like the message that you're sending out is you can have it all. You can have love. It doesn't matter what you've been through. Like you can find your best friend. You can have it all. Basically, I guess there's just some cautions and fun learning on the way.
Yes, exactly. I mean, again, in any relationship, yes, of course, there's its ups and downs. I'm not saying it's perfect because no, there's no such thing as perfect, but it's working through those ups and downs. Like, okay, you're talking about it if there's something that's bothering you. Again, like I said, communication, trust, all of that. That's something that's very important in a relationship.
Yeah, definitely. Now, do you work with couples as well? Or
Yes, I
just
do work with couples too.
Ooh, okay. I bet that's quite interesting. Are you ever like in the middle of a fight?
Well, I do more of that with the therapy part. Coaching is more of like with just the single women.
Ah,
As far as the fight, yes, sometimes I gotta be mediator or like, okay, let the other person talk because you're taking up all the time, things like that. So yeah, it could be, yeah, depending. Because it's like, okay, let the other person talk. Okay, we'll talk about this now. Um, or like even like when you do family therapy too, because more than one person.
yeah, I guess that's a really good thing about therapy. Stateside, you are so much more advanced than us with therapy. It's very, very normal. In the UK, it's getting better, but it's still quite a taboo subject. You know, like over there, it feels like if you don't have a therapist, then what are you doing? Because everybody's got a therapist. Whereas here, it's definitely not. It's still like you've got a mental health problem, and that's why you go and see a therapist, as opposed to it's just normal. But I think it's really good if you genuinely love somebody and you are butting heads with them to actually just have that mediator, like you said, to go, okay, just take a time out, right? This is how we're going to direct the conversation. This is how it's going to go. Right now, your turn to speak. Now, your turn to speak. So, yeah, you don't kind of see it from that point of view. From a British point of view, it's almost seen as there's something wrong, and that's why it's got to go, as opposed to an opportunity to let's make it all get back to where we were and make it perfect again, type of thing. But okay, boom.
Oh, sorry. Even with that, like the stigma that you were saying, there still is that stigma, even with the Hispanic Latinos. Yeah.
There is that.
So, yes. Because again, it's like, you keep it in the family or, why you going to a therapist? It's nothing physical. Things like that.
Yes.
So there still is. I think it has gotten better, but there still is that, like I was saying, that's, why there's nothing wrong or they don't understand or things like that.
Yeah. And I guess that's the same, isn't it? It's like with anything, it doesn't have to be relationships or anything. It's like if I went into work and had a broken leg, you can physically see that I've got a broken leg. But if I've got a broken heart, or, I am anxious, depressed, any strong emotion that's making you feel tired or run down or, you know, affects you and makes you want to cry and hide, like is mental health, but they can't see that. And so therefore it's like, well, you're not broken. So, and I think definitely the steps are getting there to take it to be better. You can say now I'm having a mental health day, but I think it's definitely getting better. And I just hope for the future that it's just like a normal topic of conversation for people. And I definitely think over here, especially it's on television all the time now, about talking and stuff. So it's awesome.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that, yes. I
Mm.
mean, it is okay. It's, like again, like I was saying, there's still that stigma, but, hopefully things do get better where, yeah, that they're able to go. And if they feel like, okay, they can't go to a therapist, then at least to a coach, um,
Mm.
which is more of like, I guess, more normal. Because I'm not sure why it's it like because it's a coach and not a therapist. I guess people it's easier for them to say, okay, I'm going
Yeah.
to a career coach, a life coach, or relationship coach instead of like the thing of a therapist because maybe of
Yeah.
that. Like
I
okay,
think there's a labeling system there, isn't there? It almost feels like naturally, I'm just thinking like a coach helps you and works with you as opposed to a therapist. You have to have a problem to go to a therapist, whereas a coach you use to improve yourself, even though that's not the case because they're both pretty much exactly the same. It just depends on which lens that you're looking at it through. Okay, so with your coaching, then, can people have like just one session with you? Do you have like packages? How does it work?
okay. So yes, I do definitely have packages. I have like a 3 month, a 6 month, and a year package. I do one on one. And if they need like just one session just to see how it is, or yeah, like a discovery call or things like that, I
Mm.
also do that too.
Amazing. So if anybody's listening who wants to come and talk to you because they're Latina or just likes you and thinks, like, I don't care, I'm not Latina, but I'm going to come and talk to you anyway, how do they get in touch with you, Jessica?
Okay, so I'm on Instagram. My Instagram is Latino Relationship Coach. Also, my website is Latino Relationship Coach slash homepage. So yeah, so you could get in contact with me through my Instagram or through my website.
Awesome. And I'll put those links in the show notes as well for anybody who wants them. Okay, I am going to try and pull out the takeaways from this call? Because I feel like there's definitely some, because how many people, if you're listening, you've either going through it, you've been through it with a heartbreak or looking for somebody, or you've got a friend who's going through it or a child who's going through it. Like, so, okay. So first of all, I'm just going to recap on the safety side of things. So you said, trust your gut, try to see people through videos if you're meeting them online, meet in a public place. And then I'm also going to add, it's really, really good nowadays that you can put location tracking on like all of your like WhatsApps and social media platforms and things like this and messaging. So have a friend or a family member that you can location app and they know exactly where you are, and check in with them. Okay. And then also the last one is, don't leave the platforms until you feel comfortable enough that you've got enough information out of that person that you know that they are legit. Okay.
Yeah.
First dates, people, are for getting to know each other. They are not for asking those questions about like religion and money and families and babies, and just chill your boots and take those questions later. Enjoy the dating journey. That was a really good piece of advice, because like, you're not going to find them immediately. You might have to kiss a few frogs. Practice makes perfect. I like that one. Don't get jaded. So if you do kind of find yourself getting jaded, or you are changing who you are as a person and you don't like the person anymore, just stop for a bit. Maybe just look intrinsically and work on yourself a little bit. And then I'm going to leave it with, everyone deserves to love and to be loved. I love that. Ah, Jessica, thank you ever so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you very much for your kind and wise words as well.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening today. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. And as always, any links or anything mentioned will be in the show notes. If you haven't connected with me already, I'd love to meet you. So come find me on Instagram at Debbie Westwell. You can always slide into my DMs and let me know what you thought about this episode. Or why not join my Facebook community, the Alchemy of Self-Care free community. You can also find out how to work with me at debbiewestwell.com. If you like what you hear, then please follow me or hit the bell icon. Share with somebody like you who would benefit from listening. And if you have time, then leave me a positive review, and that would be fabulous. Thank you for being your wonderful self, and I can't wait to chat next time.